Yeah, but so do you know what presents you will get for Christmas? Because can we talk about is Santa coming to your house and bringing you a new fucking drum kit?
Yeah,
no,
yeah,
you don't need the drum kit because you'll get your dose in 2023. So you won't leave your house before 2023. So you don't need a new drum kit. Oh God.
We've got Brexit though. Don't worry about it. That'll still be going on 2020.
I need to see my family. Like, just leave me alone, man. I'm swimming it. I'm gonna swim.
Can we not figure out a way of legitimately getting over and coming with you to see your family?
The channel. You can swim it with me, but you need this sort of cream that keeps you warm. And if I were you, I would start exercising.
Can't we get a boat to Africa or something?
We can.
Do you see that guy who broke lockdown to go to see his fiance in the Isle of Man, and he got arrested
amazing.
And put in prison?
Yeah. He took a jet ski. He took a jet ski across the Irish Sea.
What a legend!
Except he got nicked. So
but why put him in prison? He deserves. I don't know. He deserves his own reality TV series, doesn't he?
What if he get one? You know,
he deserves a blowy, I reckon, at minimum, for doing that.
Not even from his fiance.
No.
Well, he's in prison. Anything can happen in prison.
He's probably likely going to give one.
That's true. Yeah, he's probably got to dish it out. To be fair,
well, he loves her. That's for sure. He loves her very much.
Yeah, I mean, it's sweet. It's a sweet story.
Yeah.
I'm surprised he got caught though. Why did he get caught?
I think because people filmed him coming in and told, basically, he.
By the time he posted it on his Instagram page, it was all over for him.
He was caught out, so.
Oh, gutted. I wonder what his plan was, where he was going to put the jet ski when he got over there.
But the thing is, when you need the police, they are never around. So this is why, because they are checking the sea. If maybe someone on a jet ski is crossing the channel to Isle of Man, because
do you need the Isle of Man though? The Isle of Man has famously never had a case of COVID or something. Is that right? Have I just lied? I'm sure there was
no idea.
I'm sure there's something very similar.
I think that's where COVID Ground Zero was back in 1803 or something. It's probably where it came from. No offense
I think
to the Isle of Man.
That is sweet. That is sweet, though. You know, fair play to him.
Yeah.
We've all done desperate things for love.
We've all done desperate things when we're horny.
Yeah.
He's not exempt.
No, he's not. He's not.
I suppose it's a good time to hear everyone's desperate stories about when they were horny. Gregg?
From which decade? Oh dear. Let's not go into that right now. We've got to finish at 10 though, right?
Exactly. We haven't got time.
That's not joking, guys. I'm not even joking.
What about finishing at 10?
No.
Dude, I'm happy calling it a 9. A 9. So
9,
which is like 15 minutes ago. Yeah. That's it. I'm off.
Yeah. I like the colour of your room, by the way, Roland. It's a nice green, mate.
It's like an olive
green.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah, it's quite relaxing in here.
What room of your house is that?
This is my studio.
Oh, right.
It is the studio.
Oh.
I'm going to. I should kind of move. I'll move this about so you can see what's going on because I'm recording on the other thing. I've got
there's a telecast ahead.
You have some things. You have
books.
Some. You have some amp stuff over here.
Ah.
You have another big green
projector
amp cabinet sitting in the corner there.
Oh, nice.
Eventually, we'll eventually have these speakers in it, which are down here. But I have to kind of redo this whole kind of speaker thing.
I see. Yeah,
so it's pretty kind of like there's lots of crap in the corner over here. There's a guitar. There's lots of paper because I do stuff like that. So there you go. Yeah.
It's very nice.
It's the studio.
It's definitely a studio.
There's the other side of the studio.
Would that have been the box room of old? I like this. It's like we're getting a backstage tour.
This is through the keyhole. Oh wow!
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah,
there we go. There's lots of shit of various descriptions in various places. Yeah. So,
I nearly done some shopping this week. I nearly bought a Fender Twin, and then I kind of mentioned it to Gregg on a text, and then he was like, "Are you sure?" And then he made me lose my confidence, so I didn't buy it.
If I say that, you've got to be thinking that's not a good idea. I just don't think it's a good idea right now.
I know. I hear what you're saying. The only reason I entertained it, and this will not make the podcast, is because I got that I wasn't expecting, and it would have covered it. And I was like, okay, it's come from music. That can go into music.
Yeah.
And I want to get my twin.
Which twin, Prit?
I just want to get just a 65 twin. The
but
new ones.
Not new one, but not.
Yeah, a new one.
Okay.
Just I do like old vintage things and things like that, but I need function before anything.
Course,
so
yeah.
I'm happy just getting a new one. And there's enough of people are accounting for them and saying they're very good, and that's good. And I used to have a Fender Twin, and that was my guitar. When I had my best guitars.
Me too.
That was my guitar amp. But my one was particularly sweet. I don't know what was going on with it. I think something was fucked in the electronics on it, but that thing was singing. And
yeah, it was. I would love to find the fuck out where that is, man. I would love to know.
Nicked it.
Yeah,
so
I know.
There's someone out there with a beautiful amplifier, and I don't know where it went missing. I got a feeling it was stolen out of my studio because
it's
there was
either that
shared,
or that gig we played.
We didn't leave it at the gig.
No, we wouldn't have done, would we?
It was, but it was heartbreaking. It was heartbreaking. That's obviously I love my guitar, and I God forbid anything ever happened to that. But my twin was a similar, a similar material possession that I gave a fuck about. So that was heartbreaking.
Do you know what I did once? We played the Barfly in Camden, and played there several times, and then I had my 1979 twin reverb, which just worked and worked like it was a workhorse. And actually, I bought it off my teacher back in Slovakia, and he used to rent it out for this jazz festival called the Bratislava Jazz Days. So massive players who came from America played through my twin before I bought it.
Cool.
Charlie Hunter, for example, this guy, half bass, half guitar instrument thing, like virtuoso. And then I left it in Barfly overnight by the front door. And and the next day, 1979, twin reverb. And then
I fucking hate
then I'm
BT.
walking down the street next day, and this door is like wide open for anyone in Camden to walk in. The backstage door as well, not the front door, the backstage door. No, no bouncers, nothing. Totally open, wide open doors, and my twin reverb just stands there in the middle of this empty space. Like, just grabbed it and took it back home on the bus. But I was just really lucky. I was really lucky.
You were very lucky.
Christ.
That it even was there. Yeah, in Camden.
I thought he was going to tell a story, Prit, of when he went to Acton and he walked into this studio and he saw a twin. Pulled out a beautiful twin. And
it was the same one. Did it say Prit in the back?
It did.
Oh yeah, I've got it's got a secret mark.
I erased that name, and I thought it might serve me well.
Yeah, I actually signed it Zappa, so it was a double bluff.
Yeah.
It was amazing. My one was quite special. It was different to the normal twins because it was 135 watt one called ultra linear or something, which is very clean sounding. But the valve warm sounding, totally clean. So it's not one of those that you can drive easily unless you totally break the windows. I had it in a studio in Wood Green next to a JCM 800 Marshall, and I cranked both up, the JCM 800 and this twin of mine, and then the twin was like twice louder than the Marshall.
This is it. This is it. Yeah. This is why it worked for me, like, because I bought that twin years and years ago, just a recommendation before I knew anything about anything from the guy in a guitar shop, and that was my amp. And then I'm really happy because all of this time playing crunch and fuzz and things like that, I'm really happy that I had an amp at that point that became an obstacle to me buying. I was always just having to buy pedals because I was like, I'm not investing in another amp to get a crunch sound. But it was the best thing that could have happened because I found it so versatile, being like the clean end point of my signal chain. Like whatever I could do with pedals, as long as I got really good quality pedals, as long as I was putting it through my twin, there's so much variables that can be got out of a twin.
Yes.
But its ability to sing at that loud, I don't know, there's something about it when you're passing that much juice through a twin that it just starts to, it's a very powerful thing.
You sound like some of the porn I've been watching.
Sorry, it was a porn.
Yeah. Passing that so much juice through a twin.
But this is why I was going to buy one. Like again, like I was just going to put the money down on it.
That was the most surprising thing I think people probably found about your tone, because they always used to go, "Oh, you're playing for a twin," and you're like, "Yeah," and then they're like, "What pedals you got then? What are the pedals that you're running through?" And it was almost like, "Oh, why has this guy got a twin when he should have a Marshall stack or whatever?"
Yeah, exactly.
I mean? It was always
if anything, like that's always bothered me. I haven't found a tone on a crunch tone on an amp that I'm happy with, that I can settle on and feels good. Like, so it's always been. It's really nice. Like I saw I was watching the AC/DC kind of rig rundown with the AC/DC roadie, and
I've seen that.
It's amazing, isn't it? It's 40 minutes of conversation
really
about
good,
all the configuration, and everything is basically a Marshall head. There's
By the way, their latest
Matrix.
album, it's actually really good.
I haven't spent any time with it yet.
It's really good.
I've heard.
Put it on, man. Put it on in the car. Yeah.
I will check it out.
But you were talking about the heads.
No, because that's it. It's so there's a matrix of Marshall heads, and there's a matrix of like vintage ones, and they all do a thing that adds to that gets, and it's all about Angus getting to his sweet spot. That's all his guitar tech understands. It's literally like he wants to be able to walk around on stage, hear his sound, feel his sound, and it all happens through this matrix of kind of Marshall heads. And when they got into the conversation about it, like because he obviously knows what he wants more than anyone. He just doesn't want any interference. Like, that's why doesn't want any pedals on the floor. He doesn't want anything. He just literally wants to put his SG on, turn the volume up, and then bang, like he's playing his tone. And I understand that, like, because obviously I use pedals and various things like that. But it's fucking fussy, and sometimes it's really boring. Like, it's really boring having to
it is quite boring.
Conduct your sound through a series of things. Like, sometimes, like, you just want to be able to flick a switch, and you've got enough electricity, and the only thing you have to consider is volume. And that's a nice thing I liked about where I got to with my twin, and just a couple of pedals that were chained in together. And I will get one. I will get one soon, but maybe nearer the time we can play a gig, because there is little point, I suppose, at the moment.
Yeah, don't do it. But it's worth. You need to get back into that that twin space.
But
Twin life.
Prit, don't get me wrong. I was doing the same thing myself. I nearly bought a couple of pedals a few days ago, actually, on eBay. So I think it's this little addiction happening where there's not much going on, and you at least want to click on something and get it because you know it's good.
Yeah.
So
where's Roland gone, by the way? Where's Roland?
It's just he had enough of this shit.
He doesn't like twins. He got offended.
He got offended.
Punmeister.
Here he is.
Fuck is
what was the other thing I was going to buy? Oh, I am actually buying this. So the amp that I do like the sound of, just through kind of shootouts on YouTube and stuff, is the Wizard amp.
Yeah.
But I can't afford one because that's $5,000, but they've just bought out a pedal. So they've created a pedal. It's the Wizard Leopard, and so that sounds like my kind of pedal.
It's probably 500 then, isn't it?
What's that?
The pedal probably is 500 if the amp is
I think it's quite reasonable. I think it's about 300. So I think I will get that.
Yes,
I honestly had these like dreams that I'd won the lottery and that I could just buy you a $5,000 amp, Prit, because I after you told me about those amps, I started looking at them, and the thing I really love about them not only is the sound, because I've watched a few YouTube clips, but I love their website, that it's so shit.
Crap, yeah. They just don't give a fuck.
They just don't give a fuck.
They know what they're doing.
Mean that it's
about
really
the amps.
Amazing.
Yeah,
it must mean those amps are fucking amazing.
Do you know the other thing I like about those amps? That when you watch the YouTube shootout shit just to kind of study it, everyone who's playing one or playing through one has got a big smile on their face. That tells me it's a really satisfying thing to play through. And there's a really nice footage of Scott Ian from Anthrax, and he's just playing through one in their factory or wherever it is, or in the showroom, and it's just making him play all of his AC/DC riffs. And so he's just literally, the guitarist from Anthrax is just literally doing a cycle of AC/DC riffs, and he's just got a big smile on his face.
He's great. He's a big fan of of Malcolm Young, actually.
Yeah, but
But that's silly money, isn't it? That's so expensive.
It's.
I guess it's worth it, but $5,000, man.
I suppose it's the thing. Like it's a tool, like you have to view it in those terms, and so you're either a really passionate person if you're not a professional musician and prepared to invest in having that kind of tool, just so that you can invest your energy in it.
Actually, would that be the right thing for you though? Because if we go back to what you were saying about the Twin and what you loved about the Twin, is the Wizard going to give you that? Maybe not. Maybe the Wizard's got the tone out of the box, but you stick the pedals on it, you're devaluing it with every pedal.
That's the one thing that scares me about it, is just that I will be stuck with a tone, and that will be it. And
no, it's not just a tone. It's A, C, D, and C tone. It's more than just a tone.
Well, that's technically 3 tones.
Yes, but it's a melody.
2 C's, 1 D, and an A. No, it's of course you can. I'm sure you can make it sing in loads of ways. But that is one thing that actually bothers me about any. That's the one thing I don't like about orange amplifiers. Like I just can't stand the sound of them. Like I know that's very unpopular, but
I need to play this. I never crossed my mind to play AC/DC for real.
Go on. Slap it. Yes.
Here he is with the slap. He's in with the slap.
That's AC/DC.
That was AC/DC.
That was. I preferred it when
It was AC/DC. It was correct. I graduated as a classical guitar player. This was AC/DC. You're talking about.
I'm relieved you said that because I was politely going, hey, that doesn't sound like AC/DC.
This was AC. I literally played the notes A, C, D, and see what you're talking about.
I got it.
I can play you, if I'm good, I can play you like A, C, D, C sharp almost.
Shut up.
What other bands are there?
But I would have to practice next time.
Can you play any ABBA?
No. An album.
ABBA.
Oh man, this is going to be quite boring, isn't it?
Not really. It's 4 notes.
ABBA, mate. Come on.
2 notes, mate.
You're playing ABBA. Don't play that.
Yeah.
Play ABBA.
Here he is.
I just messed up ABBA.
I think ABBA did that, so don't worry about it.
Yeah, they did do that. Yeah,
they got there first.
No, Roland loves ABBA. He's in love with ABBA. Remember from last time? He loves them.
Yeah, where the fuck is Roland?
He didn't stop going on about it. If I'm honest,
he's just out there. He's just out there listening to ABBA right now, rather than being.
He's more like he's watching it rather than listening to it.
I think so. Maybe he thinks.
I don't blame him.
Maybe we're all frozen on his screen. He thinks he's still in a conversation.
Somewhere in the ether, he's talking to someone about something.
Maybe he's there still talking about the Wild Hearts.
Maybe. Guys, you need to listen to them though. You can't take that.
I will.
That they are really good. Really good.
What's your what fragrance are you putting on, Greg? Is that Fahrenheit?
This is it. Fahrenheit 9/11.
What is it? Is it Calvin Klein?
No, it's something I got free from I don't know. It's called Creed. You heard of
Creep.
that? Creed. Creep.
The ultimate fragrance.
I bottle my piss.
And just spray it all over my face.
Do you also date Lisa Stansfield?
Oh yeah.
I've heard she's dirty.
She's filth. Well, I date Lisa, but not Stansfield.
How do you send a picture? What the hell? Can I just send a picture through this shit?
I
just don't want to be on Teams, man. I don't want to be on Teams anymore. Do you know what I mean? I don't mind this because I've not been at work today. I've got 2 weeks off. Have you been at work today, Prit?
Yeah, I'm at work every fucking day.
What do you do, Prit? You never told me what you started doing.
Do you know what happened? I made this really bad mistake in my 20s, and I used to work in a mobile phone shop, and then it was a dead end job. But then I got this. I saw this advert in a local paper saying trainee telecoms engineers needed, and I went for the interview, and I got on with the guy who became my boss, and he employed me as an apprentice, and I learned telecoms. And back then, when I was a young man, it used to be wires and stuff. And then as I became a musician, that used to be my fallback. I used to be able to contract because I had so many friends who were still in the kind of industry. And every now and again, I get a day job here and there. And I survived like that for 12 years. And up until the beginning of this year, where I needed to get a job. And I kind of felt this day was coming for a while. I've had no money for years, but I just decided to reach out to one of the people I contract for. And I said, hey, you guys need someone to come on, and then they offer me a full-time job. But because I've been doing it so long, I'm perceived as a senior engineer, but I'm actually not. I've got the kind of
this is going out, by the way, on the podcast.
I can present myself as this is how I resign. I present myself as a senior engineer very well because I'm quite good at that. But I don't actually have the technical chops to deal with it. So the last kind of 6 weeks that I've been doing this job has been very, very stressful because I'm having to come up with all the technical solutions my job requires me to, which I don't really know. But then 2, I also have to just do that ahead of them finding out I don't know what I'm doing. So there's this double stress. There's the actual job itself, and then there's also the presentation that I can do my job.
That's cool. Can you go? Sorry, can you go back to the start? What is it precisely again? Sorry, I somehow missed it.
Telecoms.
Yes, but
So-
what exactly do you
Exactly.
deal with now?
It used to be wires.
But now you
and
go to a
telephones.
company and you need to sort out their
So
servers. Or what is it?
It's always been telephone systems. So if you for corporations offices where there's telephones on desks, there's a system that runs that telephones, right?
Which are now digital.
Yeah. So these days it's all virtual, it's all servers, it's all done in the cloud. So there's all this networking aspect to it.
I get it now.
And then there's so much telephony stuff because people's telephones are on their laptops, right? Like there's call, like, you know, that, and people have call centers. So there's auto attendance, menus that people go to. There's automatic queuing. There's announcements. There's groups that answer calls. There's statistics for, you know, there's force feeding agents on calls and running reports.
And so, do you deal with this from the office remotely, or do you actually go to places as well?
I am working from next door, so I'm very fortunate. I don't have to go out. But all that's happening is I'm doing my 8-hour day, but I'm having to also log in 1 hour earlier just to get up to speed and finish 2 hours later, just to make sure I don't get found out the day after. So, and then it is affecting me at the moment because, like, I'm waking up at 4 a.m. and I'm just doing work problems in my head. So it's got quite unhealthy, and I haven't, and it's been interesting for me because I know this about myself. I know, as you guys know stuff about yourself, that I need to be in a kind of creative space where otherwise, if I don't exercise that part of my personality or my character, I get into a very toxic place. And because I've been so occupied with this other part of my brain or this other part of this thing that isn't that creative space, that Zen space, whatever you want to call it, it's really given me this energy of frustration. So I'm walking about and just feeling anxious all the time because I'm not exercising it. And I had to do a very simple thing, like on the weekend, because I was helping Jan with one of her projects, and I was writing a spreadsheet for her, but just because it was creative orientated and we were bouncing off just some ideas, I was just filling out a spreadsheet, but it lit up that part of my brain, and it just, even 1 hour of it felt really satisfying to kind of to do that. So I think it's a very real thing for me. Like I know you guys you guys will understand it. It'll probably be silly for, come across as silly for people who aren't creatively orientated.
No, totally.
But yeah, so I need to get out of this fucking job.
It's as far out as therapy. It's like even this thing I was mentioning to when I need to teach those bass lines. It's learning bass lines, but when you learn some massive world, really well known bass lines, you can't just play them. You need to put something into it so you can play them, because it's one of the best bassists in the world. So you need to put some effort into it to make it work. So then you can teach the guy in Germany, and it's actually really rewarding for me to do this, rather than some other things that I sometimes had to do or have to do. So it's that creative moment, or this is not creating music obviously, but I just constantly keep looking for different ways how to create, which is just recently I approached through the open mic. Actually, I approached this girl who I think has got one of the most amazing voices I've ever heard in my life. And I'm like, I don't know what this could be, but I'm thinking maybe we could just because I can record a lot at home. I've got this double mic, beautiful. I've got a really good setup for acoustic guitars, so I can I cross the mics in stereo, and it's really full and really rich. I've got a good bedroom sound for some reason. Acoustic guitars need a good room more than, well, just like drums, but more than electric. The acoustic guitar needs it plays to every direction, doesn't it? And so I approached this girl saying, let's record something, because I cannot just sit at home and not create something. It's almost actually like you said, for me it's almost physically impossible to be quiet. It's suicide in my case. I can't do it. And writing songs is cool, but it doesn't happen every day. I'm not that person to grab a guitar. I don't like writing songs. I need a month break, and then I write 7 songs, but then I don't write for 2 or 3 weeks, if that makes sense. And also, writing songs is like, what did you do it for? If it's not being played live, if it's not being recorded. So I'm searching for people. I can work with, and I'll equally love when someone gives me a song and I can actually put something on it, or I write a song, whatever, or we write a song together. It doesn't matter. From this angle, it doesn't really matter. It does not have to be my song, but I have to do it. If I don't do it for more than 2 or 3 weeks, I'm out. I'm not well enough.
Yeah, well's the right word, isn't it? It is well-being. Like most human beings, I suppose, this year is pushed people into a space of a space that is probably furthest away from their capability to keep their well-being together, for whatever reasons. But certainly with being creative, you need to be exercising that aspect of your character. Otherwise, your well-being is being negatively affected. And that's not a statement about indulgence, because a lot of the time creative aspects of human beings is just considered kind of like a self-interest thing. Like an artist, if an artist is to paint or to sculpt or whatever, just whatever they do, or a songwriter is going to write a song, it's seen as a very me thing to do. Maybe even it could be perceived as a self-absorbed thing to do. But it's and maybe it is, but like it's the doing element that is necessary for an artist, that is necessary for a creative human being to create. Is the thing
that's very, very true, actually. But it's also totally, it's the best example of when doing something means more than anything else, because you can, obviously you probably will get ready for creating that thing. You can think about it for weeks or months. If you don't do it, it will never exist. But also, if you don't exercise that part of your brain, it will not reach, not the just technical level, it will never reach the creative level that it could have reached if you exercised it every day. And that's really important. So I'm actually a little bit worried about, this situation now, because you... Actually, this is off the record or whatever, but today I made my kids record a couple of songs, set up the computer, set up the condenser, and MIDI went, the keyboard went into MIDI, into the laptop, and filmed it and recorded it. And we did a snowman. So the little one was playing recorder, melody, the older one, the Yamaha piano. And I just sort of, played some guitar in the background. And then we did what do you call it? Santa Claus is coming to town.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, well, this is really amazing. Why can I hear myself suddenly?
Yeah, I can hear you twice as well.
No. I can't talk like this with the echo.
Yeah, it's very difficult.
So basically, this is good. I made them record it, and I was a horrible producer. I was like, I'm not gonna push you. This is just for fun, like Christmas fun. 5 minutes, and I'm like, well, can you fucking just do it again? Do it again. No, do it again. But finally, then I pressed record, and they did it twice without a mistake. Just full on first take, but 2 times, both are good. And I thought, this is good because in school they have not been exposed to this. Normally they do assemblies and concerts and shit, and playing in front of people. They didn't do it really because of COVID. I thought this is no good for us as human beings. Let's play. So just I'm filming, I'm recording. Let's make it as good as possible, and it really worked. I mean, we have a beautiful thing I can send to to their grandparents, but also I think they learned a lot. They learned. We do it all the time, but this time it was different because I thought it's like a Christmas card or a Christmas present because we're not sending anything over. So we will send these videos, but it mixed properly in the computer and everything with reverb and so.
Yeah, that's super nice.
It's good to see you guys, by the way, as well, because it's you normally, and I mean, think about it, yeah. Think about life of our parents, grandparents, the life you've seen in the movies and read about in the books, the life you've lived since you were 15, 16, 18, 20, or 30, and think about what's happening now. Think about how often you would go out and meet blokes in a pub, friends, mates, whatever, run into things. What the fuck are we doing now? What is this? My grandfather lived through both wars. And that must have been, well, no, he was a kid in the first one, a very, very small kid in the first one. But to live through a world war must be worse than this. Much worse than this.
I mean, but it is fascinating, even my grandfather, I had stories of, because he's a Punjabi Sikh gentleman, and at some point, and the British Raj was still quite a big echo when he was a young man in India, and the British needed people to go and fight various wars in various different colonies that they were still trying to run in the middle of the century. And he went off, he was just away in Asia for like 2 years or something. And it's just kind of like, yeah, I think so. And nobody really knows, but like all I know is that it was kind of, there's a vague recollection of him when he was married, and he just went and joined the army, and then he just went away for 2 years, and then thankfully he came back. But it's just like nobody really knows what he did. Maybe he didn't go to war. Maybe he just went to the pub or something. Just told everyone he went to the war. But like, yeah, life is. This is the biggest disruptor we've experienced in living memory, I suppose.
Oh no! Well, many of us. But you were saying like he ran away for 2 years. This is another thing. People were used to, like. Well, this is before internet though, and before mobile phones, where you were just like, it was okay to be away for 3 weeks, and maybe you rang someone, but not always, because you didn't have the real. And now we're used to like, if you don't get a message within half an hour, you're freaking out. Imagine someone being away for 2 years and writing you a letter. Fucking hell! What kind of a different life is that? I mean, it's,
the other day, where was Jam? Jam went somewhere. No, I dropped Jam at her mum's for an evening, and then I came back in the morning. I woke up, and I think I started cleaning the flat. And then by the time I'd finished hoovering and clean the kitchen, kind of hoovered around the place, jumped in the shower. By the time I got out of the shower and got to my phone, there were several missed messages and one panicked group WhatsApp to the fucking neighbors to check if I'm still alive. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Just like getting in touch with the neighbors to check I haven't died. But it's weird.
Sorry, Prit. So you said, what exactly is your family from? Then please guide me through it. I never asked. Sorry about it.
My parents are Sikh Punjabi, so that's Punjabis in the north of India, and Sikhs are the guys with the turbans.
No, I do have a few friends from that area, but it's quite a big area, right? So is it anything any more specific? Or?
I think the interesting thing that's happening at the moment in terms of, so the Punjab is north, kind of like the state just below the Himalayas and stuff. Which right now still is India, right? It is, isn't it? It is India. The territory that was Punjab technically was split during the time of partition when India and when the British kind of split India and made it Pakistan and India.
So your part was from India.
Yeah, so I think my ancestral kind of origins are in modern day India, but a lot of the Punjab was over in Pakistan as well now. But my parents, so the Sikhs were essentially, Sikhism is relatively new religion, and it's kind of came into existence about 550 years ago.
I didn't know
it was established by Guru Nanak Dev Ji, who was just born into a Hindu family, but he kind of just had spiritual revelation, I suppose, kind of common stories about that you get with many kind of gurus and messiahs and various things. But he just kind of had an awakening when he was a young man, and he started preaching what is now Sikhism. But Sikhism at the time was quite radical socially, because in a kind of Hindu society where there's hierarchy and there's caste, and there's also multiple deity worship.
Yes.
He was basically preaching there's only one God. And he was also preaching there's no such thing as caste, like everyone is equal. He kind of, and spiritually he kind of preached you can reach nirvana in this lifetime if you meditate.
If you listen to the
So if you listen to
the 1991 records, no, it's just crossed my mind.
But that was his thing. So at the time he was considered radical because he was kind of deconstructing Hinduism.
Was he? Were they in trouble because of that back 500 years ago? I get there must have been.
There was enough of a congregation and following and recognition of him as a spiritual leader that he amassed a congregation, and as a consequence, he was just a preacher. He just used to go around and preach, and he actually travelled on foot to all the way out to Persia and back over his lifetime. I think that's true. I could be wrong about that.
500 years ago, it was not Persia anymore. I believe Persia would have stopped before. I might be totally wrong, but I think Persia would have been gone a little bit earlier than 1500. Actually.
I don't know if you. Yeah, I actually don't know. Like,
as a country, because they were driven out. They had to leave to India and all that. But I can't remember when. But it might be about the same time actually. Yeah.
I think well, he definitely was. He went to the Arabian lands, and he was out there for a while. But the interesting thing about the Sikhism was because it wasn't called Sikhism when he was just schooling people. But what he did was he was recognized as a guru, and he took the title of guru, but he passed that guruship on to a successor. and that was actually his son-in-law rather than his kids. So he even by the act of breaking, he broke the active dynasty that was common with kind of rule and guruship. It was almost like a assignment of the most worthy person for being a guru. And then that tradition followed itself to 9 other successive gurus. So there's 10 recognized Sikh gurus, and they were all assigned guruship by the previous guru. And that was how it was assigned. And that culminated over the span of 300 years to 1700 something, when Guru Gobind Singh Ji was the last guru. And by that time, it had become quite a political army, because they were fighting the Mughals who were basically had taken the Raj of India. And Guru Gobind Singh Ji, actually from the time of the 5th Guru to Guru Gobind Singh Ji, there were wars, and the Sikhs were known for just being really good at fighting. And they actually fought the Mughals out of India. So the Sikhs had the Raj at the time when Guru Gobind Singh Ji, the last guru, announced there's not going to be any more living gurus. The guru is now the book, because that was compiled. That's the compiled works of spiritual teachings by all the gurus in their time. So that's another interesting thing I find about Sikhism, is the actual book. That's the Bible of Sikhism was written by the hands of the gurus, and it's genuinely documented. Like
rather than yes, I get it. Yeah. So it's also very interesting what you said, that he wouldn't pass it to his bloodline, as you do in right now in England. In
you do that in monarchy.
In a monarchy, yeah. It's quite interesting. It sounds more like choosing the right person for a reason, which makes quite much more sense than the fucking bloodline, because bloodline is nothing, isn't it? It's just it can go wrong easily. So
and it makes me and especially when it comes to something as like being a spiritual leader, you'd want there to be that kind of element to it, right? Because I don't know, it's obviously everyone feels differently about spiritual matters, so it's, of course, yeah. But the idea that if someone's giving you guidance, humanitarian guidance, that there would be a sense of it should be someone with some worthiness to them. So therefore,
do you exercise that religion, or do you know how to do that?
I don't think anyone.
Were you born in England? Were you born in England? And your parents?
So my parents were born in India, and they actually.
When did they come?
They came in 1970, and so they emigrated via Kenya. They actually grew up in Kenya, in Nairobi, a lot of their lives. They married there, and then they came over in 1970.
Oh, how long have they spent in Kenya? Sorry, it's very interesting.
Yeah, my mum and dad were kind of young teens, respectively, when they moved to Kenya from India
with their parents.
With their parents.
What was the reason again?
British colonialism. Like the British were still conducting their colonialism in a structured manner. There was lots of building and infrastructure that needed to be pumped out in various different colonies, and Kenya was a colonial territory, India was a ex-colonial colonial territory, and British passports were easy to dish out when they needed migrant workforces. So my grandparents, obviously respectively, went out and got work and settled out there, and the life was good. And both my mum and dad really have got fond, idyllic memories of growing up in Kenya as kind of late teens. Yeah, until the point that they married, and then I think my dad was he was a bank clerk, so and then again it was still the kind of hangover of British passports being available. Then it was easy for them to get to England at that time.
So sorry, what was the reason again then to move to England?
I think they're just economic opportunities. Like, and my dad would have had a chance to come to England and get a job as a bank clerk here. And
Yes, so you will not like this. It's totally not cool. But it's very, very similar to Freddie Mercury's family story, actually.
yeah,
Apart from that, he actually went because he was born in Africa, in Zanzibar.
yeah, Zanzibar.
So his parents were from Persia, were Persians.
Yeah,
Is it
yeah.
Persians? Am I pronouncing it well?
Parsi, yeah.
Sorry, Parsi. Sorry about it.
I
And
think
well,
so.
but they were probably in your area in Punjab. I'm not sure. And then they got a job in Zanzibar, but then they sent Freddie to a boarding school back to India, which was fucking miles away. So he never saw his parents for long. And then there he played the piano, all that. Sorry, I was a big fan when I was a kid. And then they had to run from Zanzibar because of the civil war.
Mm.
And then it became something else. So they ended up in what's the place? It's near Hounslow, actually. Come on, help me.
Hanwell, Richmond, kind of.
No.
Isleworth.
Oh, come on. I will remember. Anyway, and then they lost the social advantages they had in Zanzibar.
Yeah.
Through the government work. They lost totally in England. So he was actually working at the Heathrow Airport and all that. But it was the India to Africa to England route.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
Yeah, it's really
but
fascinating.
you never investigated in, because me and my wife, we tried to find out, because I could be a Hungarian Jew or whatever. I mean, you never know.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But we wanted to find out, but we came to this massive building called the Archive in Bratislava. But they said, unfortunately, before the 20th century, all the documents are in Hungary, because it wasn't Slovakia, it was the Austro-Hungarian Empire.
Yeah.
So they didn't really keep it in the region of Slovakia. So, but we are definitely Slavs. We are definitely the Slavonic tribe descendants in some way, which I investigated in, because it's interesting, because we came from Asia anyway, because everyone did at some point in Europe. But the Slavs, the Slavonic tribes, moved to if you roughly know the map of Europe, like continental Europe, there's a big river called the Danube, and it goes from Germany through Austria, through Slovakia, to Hungary, to Romania and Bulgaria, and to the Black Sea.
Okay.
So there's a massive river, and when the tribes came from Asia, they ended up in let's say this region is somewhere between Eastern Slovakia, Poland, a bit of Hungary, somewhere here it's actually in the middle of Europe, right in the middle of Europe. There's a stone in Slovakia. I played the gig, like actually having my foot on that stone, and the stone says this middle of Europe. It's actually the center point of Europe. But when you Google it, few other countries claim the center point of Europe, depending on how you measure it. But one of them is, so we are called Eastern Europe, but actually it's really central, because then there's also Ukraine and part of Russia, which belong to Europe, but which are east of us. So this is actually right in the center of Europe. And so the tribes, when they came, the best region was by the river Danube, which is a massive river. So when the archaeologists found the first little sculptures and bones and blah blah, it was by this river, which is quite near our region. But we all came from Asia, but the Slavonic tribes settled there. Because you can tell by the languages, because I can roughly understand Polish, I can roughly understand Ukrainian, I can totally understand Czech, I can understand Croatian, Slovenian, and Serbian just a little bit. But I can catch a few. I can catch a few words. Where the other tribes would have different. Like Hungary would be related to Finland. And Germans would be related to Austrians, and then Spanish to Portuguese, of course, and all that. It's interesting. It's really. I'm totally into this. I'm not into the world is right now divided like this. Do I care? Well, not so much. I mean, I wouldn't. It's politics, isn't it? But I mean, this big story about the instrument. Every fucking stringed instrument of a decent kind comes from India, by the way. I researched this. I had a big, I wrote about this in school. We probably all come from Africa anyway, when it comes to what we know as far as the oldest, skeletons found in the world. But creating instruments, every single instrument that has got strings on it, you can track down to India. Well, what now is India? It wasn't back then, was it? But it's really cool.
I love it. Yeah, I love it. I love hearing origin stuff as well, and I'm really glad of my. I was born here and raised here, but I had enough racism and othering, being brown, growing up in 80s Britain here, that I'm very glad of having to have done all the empathy work to kind of understand how stupid nationalism and all that kind of shit is, and how stupid the idea of biases and prejudices against people and making them other is. Like, I genuinely think there is a hierarchy of enlightenment, and if you think there is an issue with immigrants or others, I think you just haven't done enough real thinking.
Yeah, it's true.
And the other, and the other aspect of it is I fucking love London because of that. Like, there's millions of reasons I love London, but one of the biggest one is just everyone's fucking here, and I love it. I love seeing everyone. I love seeing what they're doing. I love seeing I love all those little communities. I love going into South London, and I can see barbershops, full of black guys, and then I go up to kind of Finchley, Golders Green, and there's like Hasidic Jews walking around. I love that they've settled there. I love that they've all congregated there. I fucking love it. I'm fascinated by it all, and I think London's better because of it. I think the world is better like it.
I totally agree, man. I that's one of my favorite things, actually, and including the food. I mean, imagine if like the food was all the same. It's like so fucking boring. For us, it's probably even. It makes even more sense. Oh, let's say it could be easier for us because we are musicians. In my life, I can't even remember who I played with, and also, you don't even. But also, when you play in a band, like say the last band I was in, where the main guy was English like you, but his parents were from Simba. His parents were from Zimbabwe and South Africa. Black guy with dreadlocks. The bassist was from Brazil, and the new bassist was from Brazil. The old one from Ireland. The drummer was French. Before that, English. Doesn't matter. But when you do this, you meet people who they bring something, but actually you meet them because they love the same shit anyway. So it's sort of, it just totally it wouldn't make sense for us in any way to even think about things like nationalism. Like what is What has it got? It hasn't got anything to do with life at all.
Was it? Yeah, exactly. I mean, even the context that you're talking about, what has that got to do with if someone can keep a good groove? Like it's got fuck all to do with it, you know?